Hey, what's up, people? Alright, we're back. Just realized I forgot to put out my incense. Alright. Let's get our devlog. This is going to be Visual Data Save Function Part 5. It's 3:43. Okay, timer is set. Well, no, it's not. Setting the timer. We'll say 65 minutes. 66. Because we're already 2 in. Oh. There we go. Okay, so we stopped right here at line 158 in custom append list, so that's where we're picking back up. I can delete this now. Alright, so let's read what we got here. We have, if it has not been saved before, go to step 4. So this would be else elif card group exists is equal to or not equal to 1 if the card group data does not exist in the database. Okay, so in that case, we want to save the data since it's never been saved before. So this would be a first time saving it. Now, let's see. Oh, I forgot to set the timer. To start the timer rather. I set it but didn't start it. So in this case, we just want to save this data. Okay, so in this case, we have never added the card group data to the database. That means we would be converting the actual list of cards well, I don't know. So would we, granted that we've never saved it to the database before, would we? Oh yeah, and this needs to be changed. Um, okay. So let's go through this here. We have our to-do, need to change this account for non-visually represented card groups. If card group name is in visual card group name tube, so this, yeah, we need to change that. So let's go ahead and do that first. So that means basically we're getting rid of the visual card group name tube, and we're just it should be instead a tuple that consists of all of the card groups, which would include all of these. Okay, so thinking about this from the client side perspective, um, I'm not sure. I need to make sure that we really need to save all this stuff because it might be the case that we don't actually need to save this. For instance, like play cards removed black threes ref. Um, from the perspective of the client side, do we actually need this data? Because the client really just handles sending, receiving, applying, uh, and then drawing the window, and then filtering out old data from the storage dictionary. Um, well, yeah, I guess. I guess concerning the like, yeah, I think we would need the data. Um, I mean, I don't know though. Is it really needed on the client side? Discard pile, match card ref list. Like this, I just don't know if this is needed on the client side. Discard pile, match card ref list is not and does not need to be transferred. Does not need to be transferred. Okay. But we still have all these other ones. We still have all these other card groups, like the Badland Temp Melds list ref. And I don't know, man. I don't know if that needs to be saved. So what I'll do is we're going to copy this list, come over here, implement code to save each data point through setters. Card groups create save logic and append current. Okay, so now we need to figure out which of these need to be saved. And we determined that at least one of them doesn't, which is the discard pile matched card ref list. That does not need to be saved. All right. I don't know. I don't know if they need to be saved. Let me think about this. So we have the discard pile match card ref list. We deem that that doesn't need to be transferred, but does it need to be saved? Just because something doesn't need to be transferred doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't need to be saved. But my bigger question is, if we have data on the server side that is used, it doesn't necessarily mean it's used on the client side. Um, like there's actually a lot of data that is very important to the functioning of the game, but on the client side, it's just not needed. It's never used. And I want to make sure that we're not saving that data, because if it's not used, why would we save it? It's just a liability at that point. So let's go through and look at each one of these. So we're going to look at Badland temp meld list ref. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to move this to its own thing. We're going to take all this. Let's see. Well, no, we can leave that here. I don't want to move that. Yeah, I don't want to move it, because then if we do that, it's fine here. We'll continue like this. It's no big deal. So let's look for this one, Badland temp melds list ref, and what does that do? I don't remember. So it's a non-transferred attribute. And I think, obviously, well, yeah, if something isn't transferred from the server side to the client side, that probably means it's not necessary. So yeah, this logic is stored server side. And not only is it stored server side, it looks to me that it is only ever modified on the server side, which means I don't think we need to transfer it. I mean, save it. Yeah, because all this is all server-side operations. Setup, this is just the creation of it in setup. And honestly, I don't even think we need to create this if we're on the client side. You know what I mean? Like if we don't even use it at all, why do we even need it to exist? So I will add that. I will add that node actually. So we would only run this for server side. Yeah, so badland temp melds list ref not needed. Yep, there we go. All right, so that's done. Let's go to things to do, and we'll move this to don't need to be saved. All right, next one is going to be black 3 meld ref. So it's a non-transferred. Yeah, so this is the same scenario. We don't need that saved or transferred. Actually, let me go ahead and add that same comment for setup because so we can move this to don't need to be saved. Now let's check out initial melded cards. Same thing. Alright, last set played cards ref. Same thing. Alright, len2 temp melds ref. Same thing. Don't need it. Alright. Next one, matched in meld list. Same thing. Alright, melds len6 list. Let's check that out. Same thing. Alright. Next one, play cards removed, black 3s ref. Yep, same thing. Alright, Play cards, wild cards, ref. Last one. Same thing. So even further, what we can do is we don't even need to create these on the client side. Yeah, so we're basically just going to go through and do that for all these different ones. So copy, then we do paste, we say equals, there we go. Alright, play cards, wild cards, ref, play cards remove, black 3's ref. Oops, I hit the wrong button there. Then we have melds lens 6 list. Then we have matched in melds list. Len 2 temp melds ref. Last set play cards ref. Initial melded cards. Black 3 meld ref. Bad len temp melds list ref. And discard pile match card ref list. And I don't even think that's not a player one. That would be a, I think that would be, so that's deck. Okay, so we can go back to this section that we were originally working in. Okay, so what here do we need to add? Card group name is in visual card group name tube. And this, well, one of them isn't, right? Which one isn't? There's... Well, and what about clear? We would need it in clear as well, right? I think we would. The deck and the discard pile. What about prior face-up discard? That one definitely does. Discard pile and deck, that is. But okay. Um, okay. What do we need to do now? Well, we really need to finish that section. I got sidetracked, but I kind of had to. But we need to finish this section here. Which we're almost done. I said I need to change this to account for non-visually, but such as refless, since they do need to be saved. Well, but that's not actually true. We don't need them to be saved. So there we go. We finished a thing that we needed to do because we found out we didn't really need to do it. So get rid of that. That's always nice. Alright, let's finish this section once and for all. I'm so tired of like being in limbo with this. I've been in limbo here. Alright, so if it's in the visual card group name tube, we check to see if the card group's already been saved to the database. If it has, and let me div this section out. There we go. Alright, so if it's in that tuple, then we check to see if the group has already been saved to DB by doing cursor execute select exists using the card group name. If it does exist, cursor fetch 1 at index 0 would return 1, so that would be equal to 1. So if it has been saved, we load in previously saved data. So if card group is equal to 1, then we want to select retrieve the saved data associated with the card group from the database using cursor execute select value from saved data where object name is equal to placeholder, and we fill that in with self.cardGroupName, which is a string, which is proper. Okay. And then serialized card group data equals cursor fetch 1 at 0 because it's going to be serialized. Then we convert database blob object to Python list by deserializing it. So we do card group data equals pickle load serialized card group data. And then we modify the list of saved IDs by appending the new item ID. Must distinguish between cards and melds by checking type of item. Item type equals type item. If item type is equal to card, then we do card group data append the item ID. Else, if it's item type is equal to list or item type is equal to custom append list, then save ID list equals an empty list. Then we iterate through this list and append each card ID to this list. Then we append that save ID list to the card group data. Okay. And then, well, we need to actually convert it back to we need to reserialize it, and then we need to save it. But we might be able to do that all at once instead of doing it twice. So let's look at this. 2b, if it has not been saved before, go to step 4. If it has not been saved before, which is else, if the card group exists is not equal to 1, then in that case, card group data equals pickle load serialized card group data. Card group data append. So now at this point we have the modified card group data. So in both of those scenarios, if card group exists is equal to 1, and if it's a card or if it's a list, the card group data has been successfully grabbed from the database, deserialized, and then modified. The next thing we have to do would be to reserialize it and then load it to the database, or save it to the database rather. So we can do all that at once here. So else, which is either if card group exists is not equal to 1, which means that the card group data does not exist in the database. In that case, we have to create it. So create initial card group data entry. So we have to create an initial card group data entry. How do we do that? So this is going to be the card group data so like we're calling append, that's what this context is. So if it doesn't exist, then that means, because if when we call append we save, if it doesn't exist, that means append has yet to been called, right? So that just means there is no like there aren't any cards in the card group. So I need to add a note for this. Note 3:21:25. Consider the fact that we would have to add in save the card groups before they ever get appended to Well, no, because but before they ever got appended to, we would still have them created. Like that's derivative of running the client and running setup. We don't need to we don't need to save an empty list, a card group. That's like a default setting. So we actually don't need to do that. Okay. So we're going to create the initial card group data entry. And basically, that just means we're going from an empty list to a list that has one card or one meld, whatever. So we'd basically run the same code here where we get the item type. So we need to run this either way. So what we'll do is we would say else, in this case, the card group data would just be an empty list. We'll say card group data equals just nothing. It's just a list at this point. That means we're dealing with an empty list that has yet to be appended to. And then, either way, we would then run this we would run item type, so we get the type of the item, append it to the card group data. Yeah, that would need to happen either way. So we move this out to be right here. Now you can see it got a little messy with the order of things, but we're going to get rid of all these comments now because they're not needed anymore. You keep them around until it becomes a clutter, and then it's easier to read without them all together. Okay. There you go. Now we need to save the card group data to the database. So then we would do visual data save function, passing in the card group name as the object name, and then the card group data, which in the case of a card would just be a list of IDs, but in the case of a meld group it would be a list of lists. But nonetheless, that is going to be the modified or new list of cards in the form of card IDs. So we would just pass in card group data here. So we got visual data save function, self card group name, card group data. Easy. All right. Now what we'll do is review this one last time. Should be good. Should be good to go here. So if card group name is in self visual card group name to check to see if it has already been saved to DB by running cursor execute select exists, select one from save data where object name is equal to self card group name. Okay. Then card group exists equals cursor fetch one at 0, which grabs that execute select. If the card group exists is equal to 1, we execute select from save data where object name is equal to okay, then we try to grab it if it does exist. We fetch it and then we deserialize it, and then we, in the case that it doesn't exist, we just create card group data as an empty list, and then we say item type is equal to item, type of item. If item type is equal to card, then card group data append the item ID, and else, meaning if it's a list, we create a save ID list for each card in the item. We append to the save ID list and then append that list to card group data, and then we save the actual data to the database by running visual data save function, passing in the card group name as the object name, and then the card group data as the associated value, which is that list of lists of IDs or just a list of IDs, whether it's a card or a list type. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure this section is good, but we probably would need to test it. Well, we certainly need to test it, actually. But I do believe it's going to work. I'm sure there's probably a bug, but anyway, I think we did that pretty good. Finally finished it. Took a little while. Alright, let's go over here. Use my code to save each data point through setters, etc. Object name. Player adders, non-card group adders, player name is done. Card group adders, list of card groups. Card group adders that must be saved. So we'll just have these. Don't need to be saved. We can just get rid of this list now because we done figured it out. Alright. Create logic in append. So these are all done because this takes care of hand, pre-sort play cards, melds, red 3 meld. List of card groups that need to be saved. There you go. Create save logic and append, create save logic and pop, create save logic and clear. There we go. Alright, now what do we do next? Create save logic and append. That's what we just finished. So yeah, I would say let's go look at the visual data save function real quick. And all that does is it inserts. We do have auto commit, so I think that should be it. Yeah, and it must be upstairs. I feel like that's the way to do it. Yeah, I don't think anything else needs to be added there. Alright, so let's just put here that we finished. Finish that. But needs to be tested. Finished, reviewed. Needs to be tested. So let's go over here and just write that we finished this to 447. Continue work on visual data save function related against custom append list. Let's just change this to say finished logic inside of custom append list.append, which handles saving of visual card group data. Reviewed. Everything looks great. Did not test this section. Needs to be tested. Alright. And next, we got 5 more minutes left, so this is basically it, but next we're gonna do create the save logic in pop. So we're gonna do the same thing, but inside of the pop function. Now, if this is the initial deck append, though, what is the initial deck append? I just want to make sure we have that in the right spot. So this just makes sure it doesn't get transferred. But we still would need to save the deck, right? I think we would. So this actually would, like on the client side when we first create the deck, well, not if we rerun setup. If we rerun setup, if we rerun setup, what would happen is we would recreate the custom append lists, and then we would have to append to them. Well, we wouldn't have to append to them. We could set their XY coordinates and their display layers manually, and then we would just make them equal to whatever the database has their card consistency listed as. So what exactly am I asking right now? Whether or not we need to run setup. And I don't think we do. Well, no, we do because they do have to be custom append list instances. So how do you make them consist of what they consisted of as a custom append list without appending? Well, you could use insert, or we could use like list comprehension or whatever you call it, or like there's a way to do it. But what about the deck? That's really the question I'm asking, is whenever we create the deck initially, do we need to save that? like what it's consisting of. And I would say if we reran setup, yeah, I mean, well, we have to recreate the cards. Like, they have to be created. So that makes sense to do it through setup. So if we're going to recreate the deck on a reconnect anyway, which I think we would have to, then, like, because the cards have to be recreated. So that means we would rerun create double deck, which would run create card, which would recreate the cards. And that would do that for every card in the deck, 108 cards. So that means we don't need to save in the context of initial deck append equal to true, right? Which means this is in the correct location. So I just want to put this, and I'll just put a note here. Verified this section is indeed in the correct location after initial deck append, but before everything else, we don't want to save the deck info for initial deck creation, since we will be rerunning setup upon reconnect, i.e. recreating it again. So why would we save it? Alright, there we go. And that's going to be it for today. So we're going to just go down to right here and change this to be current. And then we'll write that we stopped here. Put the date, 3/21/25. Stopped here. And this is line 33 and things to do. Number 33 in things to do dot text. Whoops. .448 to 455. We began working, or barely began working on .pop section to handle saving of visual. And then 456 to 457, we're going to stage those changes. And this is going to go for 343 to 457. So we did an hour and 14 minutes, which is an hour and 1.25 hours. Alright, there we go. Copy that. Now we're going to do git branch. Make sure we're at the root of the project directory, which we are. We're on the right branch. Git add dot, git commit. We can ignore those LF warnings. There goes our title, so on and so forth. Oops. All right. Git commit dash m. There we go. Successfully committed. Now we're going to do git push. 80 insertions, 55 deletions. There you go. So we push to a new feature. We're done here. Now we're going to make our local backup. So we go to programming projects Canasta. We copy. We go back to the backup. Delete the old one. Paste in the new one. Enter into it. Go to text. Devlog. Alright, part 5, 343 to 457 for today's date. That's correct. So we go back out, rename this. Well, we don't have to rename it because we already did it once today. And that's it, dudes. Alright, I'll see you next time.